Today we're making an old-fashioned peach pie. It is a tender, shortening pie crust that just kind of melts in your mouth and lets the flavor of the peaches shine. The peach filling is super simple, just a little butter and sugar and flour, and it just bakes together into this beautiful, summery peach pie. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to hit the subscribe button below and click the bell icon to be notified every time I post a new and delicious recipe. Let's get into it. Now, old-fashioned peach pie. Super simple, not a whole lot going on my counter, and that is because it is delightfully simple. I've actually already made an all-shortening pie crust. I will link to that recipe down below, but you can use any of my other pie crust recipes that I have up here, and you can make it by any of the 5 methods that I show you. So many options for you here. So I took my dough, and when I divided it, this is a double crust pie, so I divided that dough in half. Normally you would just do equal parts, but I always give a little bit of extra dough to the bottom crust. And so this one is just ever so slightly bigger. And so I'm gonna go ahead and use this as my bottom crust. I'm just gonna use the gentle transfer method of my arm. You can use however you like. But you just kind of want to, it is shortening, so it's a little bit more delicate in a way. But the good thing is that if it does break, you can just press it back together. So that's what we're doing. We're just going to go ahead and gently line our pie dish. I am just kind of giving it a little fold and then pressing it down. You don't want to have any sort of cracks in the bottom of your pie, because then your filling is just going to, it's going to find those cracks and it is going to leak out, and you are going to have yourself a situation. And we don't want that today. We want a situation-free pie day. So I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that any of my holes that are created or cracks are filled in. You want to work quickly. Maybe your room won't be as hot as it is in here. You'd think that it was Atlanta, but it's not. So I've got myself a lined pie dish here. I've kind of filled in any gaps, and I am not stressing about what it looks like. Why? Because no one is gonna see it. That is the beauty of a double crust pie. I'm gonna pop this back in my fridge just for a moment because it is actually extra special warm in here, and I want it to go onto my top crust in a nice even fashion. Now, it's gonna get a little weird, okay? But I want you to roll with me and trust me, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our peaches and we're gonna put them in our pie dish. Yes, all by their lonesome. I know, it's weird, it feels uncomfortable, but we're gonna do it. Place it over there. Just take all the pieces of pie dough and put it over there too. We might need them later, you never know. Go ahead and take your sugar, and this is flour, just regular AP is fine. And then we've got an egg. Boom. Get yourself your favorite whisk and whisk it all together. Now this is actually the same method that is used in the old-fashioned rhubarb pie that I also have a video for. So it might seem familiar to you from that. If one wanted to work less hard, which I think everyone is that person when it comes to baking, anyways, you could do your egg and your sugar first and then add your flour, and that would actually be a lot easier to whisk together. So I was whisking all this together, having the darnest time. You saw me do it. And I was like, something's missing. And I was right. One of the 4 ingredients that's in this pie is butter. So I just went ahead and quickly melted it in the microwave. And I'm just gonna finish melting it by kind of rolling it around so that it's not too hot. We don't want the filling to be hot and then put a hot filling inside of a nice cold pie crust. The other key note here is that we have preheated our oven to 375 degrees convection, or you can do 400 not convection. Let's go ahead and put our butter in here. Now, if we had put our butter in here in the beginning, it would have been a whole lot easier to whisk together. I can tell you that right now. And we would not have had to, we would have been done by now. Our pie would be in the oven. We would be like, how long peach pie? But we didn't do that, so no fear. Nothing is going to happen from just doing it like this. So give it a nice whisk. There we are.
Oh my goodness. Plus, who doesn't want a little butter in their pie crust filling, am I right? Peaches, butter, sugar. Whew, best combo. All right, we are gonna put this on top. I'm just gonna try and get it as even as possible all over the top. Because we are not going to mix this in. That's right. We are just gonna let this sit all up on the top, and it's gonna melt, and it's going to just mingle. It's gonna be phenomenal. I don't know why people stop making pies like this. I just don't know when it happened or why it happened, but I feel like we need to bring it back. As a team, all of us, we are bringing this method back. Now, we're gonna use the same method to transfer. I'm gonna like lift up, place it on my hand, and then gently try and kind of gauge where the center is and drop it on top. I find this method works especially better with kind of these short crust pastries. So it's a short crust because of the shortening, and that it kind of keeps it from, you know, developing as much gluten in, and like it's just, it tears a little bit easier. It's a little more finicky. Oh, I know. But here we are. So we are going to now starting on one side, doesn't really matter. We're going to pinch and roll. Now it's a little bit of a challenge because of the type of pastry, but it also just smooshes together. So don't stress about it. Don't think about it too hard. Just kind of like smoosh and roll. I do love a shortening pie crust every now and again because it really does have a nice texture. It is like, there's just something about that kind of crumbliness that a shortening pie crust has that makes it more like shortbread cookies or something. You do want to make sure that you do pinch and roll, like you don't want a gap of any sort anywhere, because that filling, she's gonna find it. She's gonna bubble out, she's gonna make a mess in your oven. And then also, the more filling that is not in your pie, the less happy your pie is. Like, I mean, right? Doesn't that make sense? So you want to keep, the goal is to keep all the pie filling in the pie. I'm just gonna do a nice little kind of crimped edge. You could do whatever edge, you know, suits your fancy. A little fork action, a little pinch and turn, whatever you want to do, that's what you should do. If you want to try something new, cool. Now we're going to cut some slits because we do want our filling to escape our steam to escape in a controlled fashion and not wherever it would like to, because it's our show. Oh, maybe try to put it in the center. I don't know, but it's fine. So now we are going to take this, we're going to pop it in the oven. You know I love to sprinkle it with turbinado, you totally can do that, but I am going to let her be as she is today. Oven, 375 convection, 400 regs. I'm going to pop her in while she might still be cool. And then after about 30 minutes, I'm going to turn that oven down to 325, and I'm going to let it continue to cook until I see that filling bubbling. Don't forget there is raw egg in there and there is raw flour, and you need to let it boil. It needs to boil and bubble, and everything will be all right in the world. She's out. It baked an additional like 45 minutes after I turned the oven down to 350 degrees. And you can see that honestly about 15 minutes into the first part, I went ahead and tinted the sides so that the edges didn't get too dark. So you can still see that they kind of continued to brown even though they were tinted. So you want to err on the side of tinting them a little earlier rather than later. But you can see actually it's still bubbling in the center. But I was really waiting until this got to be a nice golden brown, because you want that beautiful flaky pastry on the bottom and also on the top. And this way we know that our filling is like going to be perfection. So alas, the final step before eating, which I don't know if that's a step or not, but is cooling. So we're gonna have to let this cool. It's gonna be a liquid mess on the inside right now. Our crust is gonna be hot and just like fall all over the place. So we are gonna let her cool completely before we cut her. Yeah, so go to the store and get your favorite vanilla ice cream because it's about to get real. It's time to try. I'm super stoked. It is, I mean, honestly,
pretty proud of myself. I think it's like 97% cool, which is, it might be a record actually for me. And so here we are. So without further ado, I'm gonna slice into her. I feel like this is the moment we've all been waiting for. Oh yeah, you can feel that crust is like super, you know, it's like a short crust, so it's gonna be very tender. I like a generous piece, you know, I'm like stingy on your first piece. Plus, the first piece is always the hardest to get out, and it is easier to get a big piece out than a small piece. So, you know, if you needed an excuse, now you have one. Alrighty. Voila. Yes, look at her before she drops anything anywhere. She's perfection. Okay, I'm super concerned about her. Okay, there she goes. Boom. Now, it should be said that flour does not make the prettiest thickening agent. So while this filling is nice and thick and luscious, it is going to have a whiter tone to it because of that flour that we used. It's not, it boiled, you're not going to taste it, but just know that you're not going to have that beautiful kind of crystal clear color that you would have with cornstarch or tapioca. So fun fact there for you. And I mean, honestly, like, why am I still talking? I don't even know. Oh, but she's so pretty. Oh my goodness gracious, it held together so beautifully. You can see all the peaches, like the flaky crust. Mmm. Yum. It's the perfect sweetness. That crust just melts in your mouth. There's something so delightful with a shortening crust when it's used like with peaches or other soft fruits, because it kind of just like dissolves and melts, and it doesn't get in the way of all of that beautiful peachiness. It's just, it is such a true peach pie. That's how I feel about it.